The first thing you've got to understand if you want to turn your articulation into compensation is this. Your mouth is a monetizer. Yeah, I said it. Your mouth is not just for eating, joking, or reacting. It's a divine instrument. And when you learn how to use it with precision and power, you'll start seeing money move in your direction. See, too many people are sitting on brilliance, sitting on genius, sitting on solutions. And the only thing that's keeping them broke is silence, or worse, sloppy speech. Let me tell you something. You will never receive at a level higher than you can articulate. That's just real. I don't care how good your product is, how powerful your message is, how deep your expertise runs. If you can't put it into words that move people, that inspire action, that ignite desire, then all of that value is sitting in the shadows. And the money you want is hiding behind the words you've been afraid to say. And I know why people hold back. You're scared of sounding like you're bragging. You want to be misunderstood. You want to stumble, look silly, or be judged. But let me ask you something. How long are you going to let other people's potential opinions keep you from your actual prosperity? You see, the scripture says death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's not just about encouragement or cursing. That's economic. That's entrepreneurial. That's generational. Because when you open your mouth, you're either speaking increase or inviting lack. You're either telling the world, I'm ready to serve at the highest level, or you're whispering, I hope I'm enough. When I first started realizing this, it hit me like a revelation. The reason people weren't buying wasn't because my offer was weak. It was because my words were. The energy wasn't in the product. It was in the presentation. You've got to stop waiting for someone to read your mind. Articulation bridges the gap between your idea and their investment. That's what you've got to master. Let me break it down. Money moves at the speed of clarity. If your articulation is muddy, your bank account will be too. But when you speak with intention, when you speak with alignment, when your mouth lines up with your mission, then compensation becomes a byproduct of communication. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Think about the greatest communicators. They don't just speak, they move people. They paint pictures. They connect dots. They make the invisible visible. And because of that, people don't just hear them, they pay them. They pay them for their time, for their wisdom, for their vision, for their voice. You can learn all the strategy in the world. But if your articulation doesn't match your ambition, you're just another expert without income. I want you to realize that your next level is not about doing more, it's about saying it better. Better articulation leads to better positioning, and better positioning leads to bigger paydays. But it starts with your mouth. You've got to rehearse it. You've got to refine it. You've got to believe in it so deeply that when you speak, people feel it in their soul. That's when articulation becomes compensation. And don't get it twisted. This isn't just about hype. This is about harmony between your message and your money. Because if you've been called to impact lives, to change the trajectory of families, to break cycles and build legacies, then you cannot afford to mumble your mission. You cannot afford to stutter your solution. You cannot afford to whisper when the marketplace needs to hear your roar. The truth is, somebody's waiting for the way you say it. They've heard it 100 times, but it hasn't clicked yet because it hasn't come through your voice, your experience, your fire. And when you open your mouth with purpose, with conviction, with revelation, suddenly their ears open and their hearts shift. And guess what follows? Their wallets. This is why you've got to treat your voice like a vehicle. Drive it with purpose. Don't let it sit in park. Get in the driver's seat of your destiny and start steering your life in the direction of abundance. Word by word, sentence by sentence, pitch by pitch. Because when you speak from power, you attract provision. So here's the truth. Let's talk about clarity, because this right here might be the biggest reason your money's not matching your message. See, one of the most dangerous things you can do in business, in sales, in speaking, in coaching, in anything, is leave people confused. Confused people don't buy. Confused people don't follow. Confused people don't trust. And if they don't trust, they don't transact. A lot of people think they have a marketing problem, but what they really have is a clarity problem. They say too much, or they say the wrong thing, or they say it in a way that sounds smart to them, but means nothing to the person they're talking to. And I know this might sting a little, but somebody's got to say it. If you can't clearly explain what you do, who you do it for, and what happens when you do it, you are leaving money on the table every single day. You've got to make it plain, because the human brain doesn't like to work hard. If your message takes too long to decode, it gets dismissed. And people don't reject what they understand, they reject what they don't. That's why clarity is so powerful. When your articulation is sharp, when your message is simple, when your words cut through the noise like a sword, that's when people lean in. But let me break it all the way down. Clarity is not just about words. It's about structure. It's about sequence. It's about saying the right thing in the right way at the right time. You can have $1 million idea in a poverty level pitch. And what'll happen? Someone else with a lesser product, but a clearer message will pass you right by and get paid while you sit there frustrated. This is why you've got to stop trying to sound smart and start trying to sound clear. Simple beats clever every time. People don't need a dissertation. They need direction. They don't need your resume, they need your result. If your message requires explanation, it's too complicated. It should hit them in the heart, quick. They should know right away, this is for me, this solves my problem, this is what I've been looking for. And I know how it goes. You've got all this experience, all this knowledge, all this passion. You want to say everything. You want them to see how deep it is, how powerful it is, how layered your process is. But you've got to resist the urge to overwhelm, because when you overwhelm, you undercut your value. You got to learn how to compress power into clarity. One sentence that makes them say, tell me more. So that's the goal. Think about the most successful brands and leaders out here. They're not trying to impress you with complexity. They're dominating with clarity. One idea, one phrase, one message. And they repeat it. And they own it, and the market rewards it. Because repetition plus clarity equals retention. And what people remember, they invest in. This is why clarity converts, because it eliminates doubt. And when doubt is removed, decision becomes easier. That's what people are paying for. They're paying for certainty. They're paying for the peace of knowing this is it. This is the solution. If your words don't give them that feeling, they won't give you their money. And let me tell you, this isn't just about business. It's about purpose. Because when your words lack clarity, your purpose gets diluted. You start drifting. You start doing too much, saying yes to things that don't align. Why? Because you're not rooted in a clear message. But when you have clarity, you stop chasing, you start attracting. You stop competing, you start commanding. That's the difference. Clarity gives you authority. Clarity gives you momentum. Clarity gives you focus. And when you're focused, you're dangerous in the best way. You stop trying to be everything to everyone and you start being exactly what somebody needs. That's when your gift becomes profitable. That's when your voice becomes magnetic. That's when your business becomes scalable. So don't confuse noise with power. Just because you're talking doesn't mean they're hearing. Just because you're saying a lot doesn't mean they're buying. Get clear, get sharp. Make it simple enough for a fifth grader, powerful enough for a CEO. That's when you'll see the shift. That's when your words will start doing the heavy lifting. That's when clarity turns into compensation. Because when your message is clear, your money will be too. People don't pay for information, they pay for transformation. And that's the part most folks miss. See, we live in a world where information is everywhere. You can Google it, you can YouTube it. You can find a free download, a webinar, a checklist, a how-to. So if you're leading with information and that's all you've got, you're already behind. Because information is cheap, but transformation, that's priceless. And here's what makes the difference. Your ability to articulate transformation is what separates noise from influence. It's what turns content into currency. When you talk, when you teach, when you sell, people aren't asking, what do you know? They're asking, how is this going to change my life? They're not wondering about your features. They're dreaming about their future. And your job is to help them see it before they ever buy it. You've got to master the language of transformation. That means stop just describing what you do. Start painting a picture of what life looks like after they've experienced it. What does freedom feel like when they finally break that cycle? What does success smell like when they're no longer stuck? What does peace sound like when their problem is solved? When you can make them feel it before they have it, you won't have to convince them. You'll convert them. Let me show you how this works. Somebody says, I help people lose weight. Okay, cool. But that's information. That's a function. That's the what. But it doesn't move the needle. Now watch the shift. I help busy professionals reclaim their confidence, energy, and self-respect without starving themselves or spending hours in the gym. Now we're not just selling weight loss. We're selling identity. We're selling dignity. We're selling transformation. That's the kind of articulation that gets people to lean in and say, tell me more. Because they don't just want results, they want to believe that change is possible for them. And that's the key. You're not just selling a product or a program, you're selling a possibility. And if you can't articulate that possibility with power, then people will scroll past your offer, even if you've got the exact thing they need. You've got to learn how to speak in outcomes, speak in breakthroughs, speak in testimonies, speak in what happens after. Because people don't make decisions based on logic. They decide based on emotion and then justify it with logic later. So your articulation has to stir something inside them. It has to interrupt their doubt and ignite their hope. And here's the truth. When you master the language of transformation, your words will do the heavy lifting. You don't have to pressure people. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to chase. Because people are drawn to clarity and conviction. They can feel it. They can sense when you're tapped into something real, something that's been proven, something that works. And when you speak that way, with certainty, with compassion, with vision, they'll pay to get close to that energy. See, this isn't about being slick. This isn't about using hype or smoke and mirrors. This is about aligning your words with the real impact you bring. And when you speak from that place, people don't just hear you, they trust you. And trust is the bridge to compensation. But if you get caught up just listing what you offer, if you focus on the tasks, the steps, the logistics, you're not speaking to their heart. You're not showing them the change. You're not awakening the version of them that's waiting to be unlocked. And that's the difference between someone clicking away from your page versus clicking buy now. So here's what you've got to do. Get obsessed with the outcome. Get laser clear on what transformation looks like for the people you serve. Ask yourself, what do they get to experience after they work with me that they couldn't access before? And then say that. Say it over and over. Say it until it resonates like a song they can't stop humming. Say it until it becomes so real in their minds that investing becomes the only logical next step. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be paid like a transformer, you've got to speak like a transformer. Your words have to shift atmospheres, dismantle doubt, awaken purpose, and birth vision. That's when your articulation turns into transformation, and that transformation turns into compensation. Because people don't pay for what you do. They pay for who they become through what you do. You said, let me tell you something most people overlook when it comes to turning their voice into value. Confidence commands compensation. I'm not just talking about confidence in your head or in your heart. I'm talking about the kind that comes out of your mouth, the kind that wraps itself around every word you say, the kind that makes people stop scrolling, stop second guessing, and start paying attention. Because it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. You can say the exact same sentence as someone else, but if your tone is timid, if your energy is shaky, if your delivery is scattered, the impact dies right there on your lips. But when you say it with conviction, when you say it like you know it, like you own it, like you've lived it and you believe it down in your soul, that's when something shifts. That's when your words start to move people. And where movement begins, money follows. See, a lot of people are out here trying to sell results they're not confident in, trying to offer services they don't speak boldly about, trying to build businesses with shaky voices and hesitant pitches. And then they wonder why people don't buy. Let me help you out. The marketplace rewards certainty. When you sound unsure, people get nervous. When you second guess, they hold back. But when you speak with certainty, with energy, with boldness, they lean in. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be present. And presence isn't about showing up in the room. It's about taking ownership of the room when you speak. And that only happens when your confidence is rooted not in hype, but in truth. You've got to believe that what you carry has value. You've got to believe that your words are worth listening to. You've got to believe that your solution is a gift to the people you're called to serve. Now, let's be real. Confidence doesn't come out of nowhere. You build it. You build it in the doing. You build it in the studying. You build it in the showing up, even when your knees are shaking. Every time you speak up, even when it's uncomfortable, you're stacking confidence. Every time you say yes to an opportunity instead of hiding from it, you're building equity in your own voice, and eventually what used to terrify you becomes your new normal. That's how confidence is built, through bold reps, not quiet retreats. Here's what I learned. The more confidence you show, the more people assign value to what you say. Confidence is contagious. It's attractive. It signals leadership. And in a world full of noise and doubt, people are desperate for someone who sounds sure. They don't want to follow the loudest voice. They want to follow the clearest one. The one that says, this is the way. The one that says, I got you. The one that doesn't flinch when they ask, can this really work? So let me flip it on you. If you've been wondering why you're not closing the sale, why the opportunities seem to keep slipping by, why people love your content but never take the next step, could it be that you're not selling them on you? Could it be that you haven't yet sold yourself on the worth of your own words? Because here's the truth. If you wouldn't buy from you, why would they? Confidence isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's when your words and your worth are finally on the same page. It's when your delivery starts matching your destiny. And let me tell you, when you get that alignment right, when you speak with that unshakable conviction, you stop chasing clients and start attracting them. You stop discounting your value and start commanding your price. This is why it matters so much. Because if you don't speak with power, your message gets lost. Your mission gets ignored. Your moment slips right through your fingers. Not because you weren't gifted, not because you weren't qualified, but because you lack the confidence to communicate at the level of your calling. And here's what's wild. Confidence doesn't wait for compensation. It shows up before the money does. You've got to walk like it, talk like it, present like it before the check's clear. And when you do, the marketplace will catch up. Because people don't pay based on your potential. They pay based on your posture. So if you want to be paid more, speak like someone who knows they're worth more.